Welcome to the Bowel Chronicles, where we dive deep into the world of bowel health. I'm your host, Nienke Kilpatrick, and on this podcast we have raw and candid conversations with individuals facing various bowel conditions and illnesses. Through personal stories and shared experiences, we illuminate resilience and courage in the face of adversity. Be reminded that each story is personal and unique. These conversations are not to be taken as medical advice or to replace guidance from a doctor or healthcare provider. Our aim is to inspire and empower through these amazing stories, amplifying voices often unheard. So join us as we embark on this journey together. Sit back, listen, and be inspired. Enjoy the episode. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bowel Chronicles. I'm your host, Nienke Kilpatrick, and today I'm joined by the lovely Nienke from the Netherlands. Nienke, it's great to have you here. I'm so excited for our viewers and our listeners to hear your incredible story today and to find out a little bit more about you. So thank you for coming on and taking time out of your day for us. And so we connected quite a while ago on social media. I think we were both sharing our journeys of our ileostomy, and we have been connecting ever since. But whenever I first connected with you, Nienke, I had no idea about some of the conditions that you were diagnosed. So today, I feel it's really important that we share those with our listeners and our viewers to educate them and spread some awareness and let them know about your amazing journey and what a wonderful person you are. So would you like to kick off with sharing a little bit about your diagnosis and kind of where your journey started of your bowel conditions related to those other health conditions that you continue to navigate?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
Where did it start? Well, I've had issues my whole life. Constipation issues, easy vomiting, but it never kept me from doing anything. I could eat everything. It wasn't a handicap for me until 2018. I had three surgeries for my neurostimulator. I've got cluster headache, and they gave me a neurostimulator that failed to work. In the end, I ended up having three surgeries, and after that surgeries, I had a lot of heavy pain medication, which ended up in constipation and vomiting. But with a lot of laxatives, it went okay. It was all right. I moved on with life until the last surgery. It took me a really long time to get back on track with my bowels. I think in the end, it was okay for about 4 months until November 2018. That's when I actually started vomiting and having constipation more and more.
So you had been living life as a normal human being, cracking on, and you were living with these cluster headaches. And then the option to treat that was to have the sacral nerve stimulator to help with the pain.
So it's an occipital nerve stimulator.
Okay.
And that works pretty well for the cluster headache, for about 50%. But that means for me that I have only 2 cluster headache attacks at night instead of 5 or 6 a day.
Okay.
And the chronic headache is better. So I did everything. I have been riding endurance with my horse on a high level, so up to 120 kilometers. And it when it started, the cluster headache, it kept me from doing anything. At first, I was really afraid of it. I couldn't go to school. I couldn't see my friends. It started when I was 18. So I haven't had a normal
Childhood.
teenage life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I couldn't go out. Everyone's going to the club, and I barely could join. But eventually, you learn to live with it. And with the neurostimulator, it got better. The attacks were going from daily. Well, daily, it's still during the night, but not during the day anymore.
So then
So I had a great life.
You continue with these medications, laxatives, your boils start to slow down. You start to vomit. You start to vomit. Is the vomiting then a result of your bowels not moving? Is that?
Both because my bowels weren't moving and because I ended up having gastroparesis.
Mm-hmm.
So my stomach is partially paralyzed.
And is that as a result of your medications or just part of whatever is going on in the body?
At first, we thought the medication, but eventually I ended up with a GI doctor. She did a lot of testing, couldn't figure out what it was. So she sent me to a specialized hospital here in the Netherlands. And they did a lot of testing, and I ended up with the diagnosis CIPO, chronic intestinal pseudo-obstruction, which in normal terms, easy words, means that my stomach is partially paralyzed and I'm in intestinal failure. Both my small and my large intestine are paralyzed. In the beginning, it was partially. They thought that I could absorb nutrition through my bowels. So I ended up having a tube in. I already had a tube in my nose, a nasal a feeding tube at that time. First in my stomach, then in my duodenum. But I kept vomiting. I kept vomiting the tubes up. I ended up having 16 feeding tubes in 4 months. So eventually they said that there needs to be a change. So they placed a tube in my stomach.
Okay, so
still,
you have this the nerve stimulator placed in for the cluster headaches. Continue to get really sick. The bowels stop working. Start vomiting. You're referred to a GI. You have that done. Go through extreme tests, and then they diagnose you with this CIPO, chronic intestinal pseudo-obstruction, which is paralyzation of the stomach. And then you're in and out of hospital with all of these tubes trying to give you your nutrition. You couldn't eat, couldn't drink in that time, or could you? Or
I couldn't eat anything. Everything I ate, I threw up. But the issue is still, especially in women, if they can figure out what is wrong with you, it's either you've got an eating disorder or it's all in your head. It's anxiety, you name it. It's everything except there's something wrong with your GI tract.
Yeah. And I think being someone with gastroparesis, you start to sometimes believe those things. Am I imagining this? Because you're hearing it so much from medical staff. And it's absolutely horrible to be living like that, but you can feel it and you're very much aware there's something different in your body. There's a change in your body. And obviously you kept fighting and kept going back to get answers and have tests done. So you can't control it. You're having all of these 16 tubes down your nose into your stomach to try and give you nutrition. And like, what was there a plan? Were they going to keep you on that type of feeding tube? Was that this is your new life? This is how it's going to be with CIPO, until the tubes kept feeling and they decided then to go in through your stomach. So you have one tube placed into your actual stomach, is that right?
There's one, now I've got one tube that's directly into my small intestine.
Uh-huh.
And I've got one tube in my stomach.
Okay.
The tube in my stomach is to drain my stomach. So I drink everything, but my stomach decides if he want to keep it in or he wants to throw it out. But now I can drain my stomach as soon as I'm getting nauseous. I can drain my stomach.
Wow. That's
So
incredible.
that's,
It's incredible that you can actually do that and facilitate that yourself.
yeah, this
That's
is, and it's especially for quality of life, because your brain still wants food and you keep getting thirsty. That's not going to go away. But the fight to get this done and to get the tubes was horrible. And in the end, you yourself are your biggest gaslighter, because even your own brain keeps telling you there's nothing wrong with you. You can eat, you can drink. Don't be stupid, just do it. And if the doctors keep telling you that there's nothing wrong and you have to keep trying, and with the feeding tubes and the trying to keep giving myself nutrition, and it kept failing and it kept failing, and I had to keep trying. And that's the only thing my GI doctor told me. You have to keep trying to up the rate of your tube, your feeding.
okay. To
And
absorb
it didn't
something.
work. And I kept losing weight. And I think the fight until we decided to start TPN, total parental nutrition, so the nutrition through my veins.
Yes.
I think it took me 6 months to convince my GI doctor at the time that it didn't work, and I kept declining.
Okay.
And the last phone call I had with her before she decided to get in touch with the professor who diagnosed me to talk about the TPN. That's the phone call that I told her, when are you going to make a decision? Because if you're going to wait longer, you don't have to make the decision anymore.
Right. So they waited all that time before TPN was introduced.
Yeah.
And I have found that here in the UK with our health service, I experienced this. I was nil by mouth for 3.5 years. With my journey, I couldn't eat with the pain and again vomiting, bringing it up, and I was on a liquid shake several times a day for my nutrition, and seeing a dietitian and nutritionist all of the time. But it wasn't until I was in hospital and had my ileostomy surgery, and I developed an ileus, so I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink. I had the NG tube down my nose into my stomach, and because I started to lose weight again very very quickly, and I couldn't eat or drink, and I was in their care, they immediately brought another dietitian in, and TPN was commenced at that stage. And I can remember my family saying, why are they only doing TPN now? Why have you not had this for the last 3.5 years? And it was because there was no definite, definitive diagnosis of the reason that I was malnourished. They couldn't see the physical obstruction that was supposedly causing the malnourishment, if you get me. And
Yeah.
I don't know. There's probably no way around that, but I think if TPN obviously is very, very expensive to be given, and it has to be given in the right circumstances. But I think if that was introduced a little bit sooner, it could prevent that extreme malnourishment and the even bigger weight loss. Because you struggle to get back from that. I think whenever your body is closing down and absolutely nothing is happening and you can't absorb anything, and that probably would have been a lot more beneficial in your circumstances a couple of years previously than
Yeah.
getting to that extreme. So what was it like whenever they decided they were going to fit this tube into your stomach? Because you looked absolutely normal. Nothing was different about your body or your appearance. And, apart from having this tube in your nose at hospital and dealing with that, now you were going to have this permanent tube coming out of your stomach. How did that feel, Nienke?
It was a relief
Yeah.
when they finally decided, the professor decided that tube feeding was going to be for a longer duration. So he actually decided that I needed to have the tube fitted in my stomach. And after that, 16 tubes every time with sedation, every time endoscopically, was traumatic. I wake up from sedation because of my condition. So every tube that was fitted endoscopically, I woke up during the procedure, and that's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So when he finally decided that the tube was going to be fitted in my stomach, I thought, okay, that is finally over. No more tubes in my nose, no more endoscopically fitted tubes. It's finally over.
And so, was there instant relief whenever that tube was fitted to your stomach? Did
The
things?
first tube they tried failed. My stomach decided to move behind my rib cage, so they couldn't fit the tube in my stomach. So the second time they tried, I was really, really afraid that it wasn't going to work. So when I woke up from the procedure, the first thing I did was look under the surgical gown. And then I thought, okay, it worked. It's there. And I was in a lot of pain. The first week, I think, was horrific. But I was so glad, so relieved that it was finally over with the nasal tubes.
So, did you then start, that was your way of putting in your daily nutrition into your stomach?
It felt like life 2.0. The first weeks that I started nutrition through that tube went pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And then the decline started again.
Right.
I couldn't up the rate. Eventually, the rate had to go down again of the feeds. So the whole process of not getting enough nutrition started all over again.
And at this stage, you were out of hospital at home?
Yeah.
Doing these feeds yourself. And just for our listeners, like, what does that look like? Does that mean you get up, you do it in the morning, do you do it breakfast time, dinner time, lunchtime, or is that overnight? How does that work?
I started with 24/7 feeds.
Mm-hmm.
I tried night feeds to see if that was better. I tried daily feed, just during the day feed. It's different for everyone. It's um, it's a trial and error. And for me, the best would have been if it worked, I think, 24 hours a day, because then you can lower the rate.
But does that mean then that you are connected to the drip stand 24/7 with this
Yes.
bag of feed going in all of the time? I mean, you have this little tube coming out of your stomach, a little length of catheter tube that you flush, and then you connect to your bag of feed. And if it's
Yeah,
24/7, it's just going all the time.
it's going on and on all the time. You're constantly connected to the pump, to the feet, walking around with a backpack.
Yeah.
The only time I was disconnected was when I was riding my horses.
Yes, and you've continued to do that throughout your entire journey. You're incredible. You really are. I think one of the first videos that I watched of you, I think it was post ileostomy. You were out, you were having a walk, and there you were with your backpack, and you were just going for it. And I thought, who is this girl that has just had ileostomy surgery? And at that point, you were telling us all that in several weeks you were going to the ski slopes for your first holiday post surgery. And I was like, if she could do that, I can exercise, you know. I was blown away by just, your sheer inner strength of, this is life and I have to make it the best possible life that I can. And yeah, so that was one of my first videos where I'd actually listened to you telling part of your story. Um, and I just thought, wow. Like, so you obviously now have the right feed and everything worked out for you, like living life with um your feed tube, your tube for draining your stomach contents. What has life been like over the last couple of years? Because obviously now you're living with a stoma as well. So tell us a little bit about that. And um, you have had another diagnosis in the last year as well. So let's chat through a little bit about that because it's all woven in, it's all linked. And I think it's really important that our viewers and audience get to hear a little bit of that today.
Yeah. About 2 years ago, I switched GI doctors. I switched hospitals.
Mhm.
Throughout the years, I had a couple of medical professionals ask me why I didn't have an ostomy because my bowels kept declining. I started with a small amount of laxatives, but it kept getting more and more and more, and more laxatives were added, and I needed bowel preps for colonoscopies just to clean my bowels. Um, that failed to work. I started bowel irrigation. That failed to work. So I think it's about 2 years ago, the first time I thought, when um, when is the time right to take a next step? And I knew the next step would be to get an ostomy.
Right.
And when the medical professional started asking me, why don't you have an ostomy? I brought it up to my GI doctor, my formal GI doctor, and she looked at me like I was crazy.
Okay. Wow.
I used too much laxatives. I had to lower the amount of laxatives, then it would work better. I tried everything. Then I switched GI doctors, and last year, I think it was May, was the first time I asked him, how long do I have? I was admitted at that time for cleaning my bowels clinically. And that was the first time I asked him, how long do I have to go on like this? Because there will be a time that it's enough and I can't handle it anymore. It's too much. It's taking over my life. I'm busy. The only thing I'm doing 24/7 is laxatives, bowel irrigation. My mind is, the only thing I think about is my bowels. And he said, I can't give you an answer, but we have to keep trying. And last November, October, November, was the time that I told my GI doctor, this is enough. I can't go on like this. I'm done.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at Dex.
Ja, hi, lekker.
So you got through October, November. What was, were you in extreme pain because you'd already been admitted to hospital? Like, were you, I know what that feels like when your bowel doesn't move and can't move, and you spend hours in the bathroom trying to irrigate and you don't get anything but clear water back out. It's so frustrating, and bowel prep does nothing, and laxatives do nothing for you. And I know at times I would have been distended quite badly, swollen out. Obviously brings pain. And oh, were you suffering in pain, to be admitted to hospital, to have evacuation done? Oh,
I was in so much pain. And eventually I got the heaviest bowel prep for colonoscopies. It was horrible because my small intestine already couldn't handle the amount of fluids I had to use for the laxatives and for the bowel prep.
yes.
I was so sick when I used it. I was in so much pain. It worked a little bit. I wasn't clean after it, but I was losing some hoe zeg je het? Defecation.
Yes. Yes.
After a week, more or less, it already started to build up again. And my bowels got distended again. And after 2 weeks, I looked 6 months pregnant again. And it was just enough. Mentally, it was, I couldn't take it anymore. So I had a conversation with my GI doctor and my psychologist. And the only thing I did in that conversation was cry. And then he said, I have to think about it. And I want a second opinion. So what he did, he phoned the professor in the Netherlands who has knowledge of CIPO. He is retired, but he phoned him. He discussed it with him. And the professor said, I can't guarantee anything with an ileostomy, but it is something you can try. And first he wanted to try something else. And then I panicked and I asked him, can we already start the process towards an ileostomy? See how it goes. If it works, what we're gonna do, we can always cancel the whole process. But can we please start the process towards an ileostomy? And then he said, okay, I'm gonna call the surgeon and I'm gonna make sure you're gonna get an appointment with a surgeon so you can talk about it. And the appointment with the surgeon was after a couple of weeks already, and the surgeon said, okay, we're gonna do it. What do you want? Do you want an end ileostomy or a loop ileostomy? I think the best option is a loop ileostomy, because if you can't clean your bowels, your colon yourself, we can always do the irrigation through the loop.
Mhm.
And after 2 weeks, I got a phone call from the hospital. We have a surgery date.
All very close together, wasn't it? It was
So
a
that was it was a kind of a shock, actually, when they phoned me and they said, okay, in 2 weeks you're gonna have your surgery.
shock, but also good news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 5th of December was the surgery date. And I knew ostomies already, because I'm a nurse. I've been working with patients with ostomies. I did a lot of research. I watched a lot of videos, a lot of content on TikTok. I read a lot about it. I thought I'm so well prepared. Um, but still, it was a bit of a shock when I woke up after surgery.
Yeah.
And
And
I thought I'm so well prepared. It's gonna be okay. I'm gonna have my life back. No more pain. Well, no more pain. It's that's not true, because I still have the CIPO. I still have the obstruction in my small intestine. I'm still in a lot of pain, but I don't have the pain from my colon anymore.
yes.
And that's the relief. But the first weeks, or the first couple of months after the surgery, I have been struggling a lot.
So just for our viewers, on the 5th of December, then you went through a loop ileostomy, which is when they cut your bile, they cut the intestine and they bring out a small piece of the small intestine out through the surface of the skin. And they bring out the disconnected end and they keep them together and they just attach them to the outside of the skin. And that becomes your stoma. And then over the top of that is a little stoma bag to collect your liquid output from the small bowel, which is effectively your feces or defecation. And that has helped with the pain of your colon. You're no longer having to live with that constipation or think about bowel prep or irrigation, which is a game changer.
Yeah.
But you are still living with the CIPO, with the obstruction in the stomach and the pain that is caused by that. Um, coming around, you can do all the research in the world. For the last 3.5 years, I researched stomas, and I knew it would be the best thing for me. And you can listen to all of the content on social media, and you can Google and listen to all the podcasts and be prepared for it, which I think mentally helps you. But it's still a shock. It's still a lot to take in. Um,
Yeah.
and I know we connected through social media, through me sharing my journey, and a lot of people will say, how do you remain so upbeat and so positive? And I think that's very much a choice, and it's a choice that I see in you, Nienke, and you want to see the best of a bad situation, which I think, we have no other option whenever you are so weakened and struggling with a health condition like this. Um, you're still continuing to like battle on. You have another diagnosis of EDS.
Yeah.
You kind of like just talk about that. Again, they're all woven in. What does life look like for you now with that EDS diagnosis? You're still battling with SIBO. You've got two tubes and a stoma. You have a lot going on, but yet you have work life, you have home life, you like to holiday, you like to get out there, and nothing is really holding you back. as far as you can control it anyway. Let's chat about that.
Yeah, true. The EDS diagnosis I only got about a year ago.
So EDS is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a connective tissue disorder. It actually means that your body is everything in your body contains collagen, and the build up of the collagen in EDS isn't right. In every EDS patient, it's different, but in my case, it means I'm hypermobile. I've got a stretchy skin, and it affects my GI tract the most. Cluster headache is actually also a comorbidity of EDS. So I went to a rheumatologist with the question, is there a possibility of EDS? And she diagnosed me with it a year ago. So for me, it's sort of, I now know why I have all these health conditions, but it's still difficult because it is a lot. I'm always in pain. My joints hurt. I'm always nauseous. I'm still vomiting a lot. Even with a tube, with a draining tube. But EDS itself won't hold me back from doing anything, like my skiing holiday and like riding my horses. It's the lack of energy which is holding me back.
Yes.
And
do you think the lack of energy, that all comes from the nutrition side of things?
I think it's partially it's nutrition side. I'm getting the TPN, I'm getting my nutrition, but it's still not natural. Daily, I'm in a lot of pain, so that's also taking a lot of energy, I think. After my ileostomy surgery, I got a virus. I think my wat is weerstand?
Immune system?
My immune system got a
attacked?
How do I say it in English? I think the surgery lowered my immune system.
Yes, okay.
And so I'm catching a lot of things, a lot of viruses at the moment. So I'm trying to build up my immune system now. But it's a difficult journey since surgery. And I'm trying to find a way to get back on track.
I think with having an ostomy too, because it's in the small bowel, and you know your nutrition is going into your stomach, so it doesn't absorb the way it should, and it only stays in the stomach for a short time, and then it's pushed out into your ostomy. So you're getting less, even less, now with the ostomy than before.
Yeah, but my nutrition is my TPN nutrition.
Yes.
Purely.
Okay, so it's going into the veins.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So you have your TPN through your IV.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's so unnatural.
Yes. Yeah. It's not enough.
When I started TPN, I thought, well, now I'm gonna get my energy back.
Mm.
But that never happened.
And can you eat any food right now? Or do
No.
you choose not to? No.
No, everything I eat needs to be drainable. Thanks, jongen. No, it needs to be all fluid.
And is that difficult when it comes to socializing?
Yeah.
I find that people stop asking you to go out for a meal or out to a venue because you can't eat, and they feel awkward eating in front of you, although you might be okay with it because it's your new norm. Um, how like how do you cope with that? How do you deal with that? Because you are someone who does like to get out and about.
Yeah. It's a long time ago. I've been in a restaurant with friends. In a couple of weeks, I'm getting a bigger tube, draining tube, which means I can drain more. And with that, I can start, I can try to start eat things that are drainable. So I actually told my best friend yesterday that in a couple of weeks, I want to go out to a restaurant with them to try and eat something.
Okay.
And in about 5 weeks, I'm going on summer holiday
Wow.
with 2 friends. So who knows?
You can start off with soup and something like that to see how your body handles it, and then progress from there.
Yeah,
I love that mentally you're already envisioning that. You're saying, right, that's my goal. That's what I'm working towards. You have that drive, that nothing is going to hold you back with the diagnosis of CIPO and EDS. Like you're an inspirational woman, so you are. Yeah. If we if you were to leave our viewers and our audience today with one piece, one little golden nugget of information that would be really inspirational, of value, that you would want everybody to know, what would that be? I know it's a difficult one. You've talked a lot, about your journey and
what's mm,
what's been the most important thing, for you in it, or
that in each situation, whatever is going on, that you need to keep trying and see the positive things in life. And it's hard, it's difficult, and I'm having really bad days mentally as well. But even in my situation, I try every day again, I try to see something positive because that's what keeps you going.
I love that. And you did mention the word psychologist. And before we go, I just want to touch on that really, really, really quickly, because that was part of my own journey. And I actually got a letter in the post, and I hadn't been informed that I had been referred to a clinical psychologist by my consultant. And it was to help me deal with my condition and accept it. And when the letter came in the post, I was annoyed because I hadn't been told I had been referred to this psychologist. And I thought, how dare he? But then I thought about it, and I had the attitude of, I'm going to make this work for me. And actually having that relationship with the clinical psychologist he was the one who taught me to advocate for myself. He
Yeah.
taught me a hell of a lot, and it was one of the best things that that consultant had actually done for me. Did you find working with a psychologist beneficial? Because I know a lot of people go, "Oh, I'm not crazy. I'm not losing my mind." You're gaslit for so long, you start to believe these things. But I think it's important that you verbalize a lot of things to come to terms with it. And for me, I know it was beneficial, but that's not necessarily the case for everyone. What's your take on it before we wrap up?
It's really beneficial. I started seeing her in the beginning of my journey with CIPO. I didn't even know it was CIPO at the time. But I can see how I have to deal and go along in this journey without a psychologist. And she's also a clinical psychologist, and she advocates for me as well. So that's great. And it's much needed.
Yeah.
In a situation where you can't control, you don't have any control over your health anymore, you can do it on your own. And you can have a lot of family and a lot of friends who want to help you, but you also need someone who stands a little bit further away, who sees you in another perspective, who wants to help you, but also can say, now you're wrong. And now you're saying things that aren't right. And you have to see it from another perspective. So I think it's not only beneficial, but it's really much needed.
Yeah, I agree 100% because I had confined myself to the house for so long, and he helped me see and realize what was actually going on in my head, and I was preventing myself from leaving the house. Yes, there was reasons and limitations on leaving the house, but there were also things that I could implement in order for me to leave the house. And it was almost like pulling the cobwebs off my eyes and me seeing fresh. Okay, I can do this. I can leave the house. I can succeed. I can make this work in the worst of situations. And I think that it is so important. Um, Nienke, it's been fabulous to have you here sharing our story. Thank you so much. And just for our audience and viewers, I will be sharing her handles in the show notes below, so you can give her a follow on social media and show her some support and love. And as you've heard, she's going in to have another tube fitted in a few weeks' time, and you do like to vlog and share your journey out there. So I look forward to leaning in on your journey, and we wish you every success with your new tube. And I look forward to seeing what you're going to eat first and how your holiday goes. Something to look forward to. And yes, we will continue to connect on social media and build our friendship. So thank you so much, Nienke, for sharing your journey today. Guys, if you have any questions as well, put them in the comments below in the show notes. There's a question Q&A section there for you, and I can come back to you with those answers. If not, Nienke on our socials will certainly help out with all of those answers. So that's us for today, guys. Do come back, join us next week for another episode. Whatever you're up to, have a fabulous week. Nienke, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.